Yeah.
Yes, I have to let you in. Joined. Okay. We are all set for the next in the
Hold on 1 second. My computer took up my AirPods.
How's that? Are we okay? I can't hear you. You're muted.
All right, we're good.
Good. Everybody can hear us. There's no echo. Great. Welcome to the next in the community forums, which are, we have to get rid of that banner below because we're actually going to be changing the community forums. We're only going to be doing one community forum. That's going to be Tuesday nights, functional wellness at 7:45. We're going to roll the coaching and we're going to roll the stress resilience into functional wellness. It's all going to be one community forum. We may extend it by a few minutes because the 30 minutes seems a little short to cover multiple topics. But the coaching forum on Monday nights and the stress resilience forum on Wednesday nights are no more. Just functional wellness with Diana. So let's dive into tonight's subject because I'm quite interested in hearing what you have to say, to be honest. This year, personally, and in the office, I have heard so many people complaining about allergies, colds, sniffles, scratchy throats, and everyone's testing for COVID. And nobody's coming positive, but they're having symptoms of colds. So Diana, our functional wellness guru, please share with us your thoughts about what's going on in the United States of America.
So there's actually an interesting reason for this, just a little background story here, in that we have two sides of our immune system, right? If you know anything about immunity, there's Th1 and Th2. But put that aside. We have one of them is responsible for bacteria and viruses. So think COVID. The other one is responsible for allergies and worms, but let's just focus on allergies.
Please, let's just focus on allergies.
It's like a seesaw, right? So if we decrease our bacterial load, if we get less viruses, get less colds, right? We're all wearing masks, so we're getting less sick. Our allergen side of our immune system tends to go up, which is why the past 2 years, maybe the pollen's getting worse, maybe allergies are actually getting worse, but it's no surprise that we're all seeing a higher rise in allergies in general.
So our two immune systems, or the two parts of the immune system, maybe you said better, cannot be high at the same time.
Less likely.
It's a seesaw
If someone
effect.
has a lot of autoimmune conditions, they're less likely to have allergies and vice versa, right? So there's different herbs, diet components, lifestyle techniques that can actually help balance it out right? If you've ever, there's like supplements that are targeted towards TH1 or supplements targeted towards TH2, right? And that's really to try to get that seesaw like as balanced as possible. But what's happening right now is like we're getting less bacteria and less viruses. So our allergies are going
And
up.
we're getting less because of the masks.
Because of masks, because like we're all just being more cautious. I mean, right? Like no one's people, we used to not really think much about potentially getting sick all year round. And now everybody is getting sick, is avoiding getting sick all year round. It says someone hears the echo.
People out in Instagram land, Doc, put your headphones in.
Is that better?
1 second. My headphones are in. Is that better? I don't know why having my headphones in would make the mute your laptop. Okay, see if that works.
Is that better, everyone? Give us a thumbs up. It's Diana.
Better. It's better for me. It's you?
That's what I'm being told.
So what I've done is I've muted my laptop and my headphones are for my phone.
I've done the same thing. Is that better? Or no, still not better? It's better?
Better.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Sorry, bear with us. We're trying to do Instagram Live and Facebook Live at the same time. And they will not let us do them together.
Better now. Great. So we have to remember for next time, headphones in the phone, laptop mute. Okay. So I'm sorry to make you to repeat it, but I think this is really important and valuable information. Really important. So just explain again that there are two parts to the immune system.
Yeah, there are two parts of the immune system. Is it still echoing from me? Oh, it was from me. Okay. Thank you, Brooklyn. So there are two sides of the immune system, right? TH1 and TH2, and one of them is responsible for allergies and worms, but we're just going to talk allergies today. And the other one is responsible for bacteria and viruses. And it's like very much a seesaw. So when one goes lower, the other one typically goes up, which is why someone commonly with a lot of autoimmune conditions or a lot more exposure to bacteria and viruses have less of an allergy response and vice versa. And so we've all had less bacteria and viruses over the past few years based on the fact that we've been masking up. We've been much more careful, right? If someone has a cold, you're not exactly going over and giving them a hug. And maybe before you probably would have, right? And so because of that, we're just getting less of that side of the immune system. And instead, where our allergies are flaring up more than ever.
Okay, so that explains why it's happening. What are the solutions? What should we do about it?
So the solutions are three-pronged. Shocking. Diet, supplements, and lifestyle tips. And all of them
Wow, that's new and different.
Yeah, I know, right? If you've ever worked with me, that's what every follow-up you'll get from me outlines. But essentially, they all are geared towards reducing our body's histamine load and our body's histamine response.
Okay, so what is histamine? Why does the body create it? Why, if the body's creating it naturally, why would we want to limit it?
So histamine is the body's like allergy response, right? You can get it in response to food, but in specifically, we're talking like allergies here. And so why you would want to limit it is because when it gets too high, you start reacting to everything. It's more than just pollen. You're also reacting to like different foods have higher histamine. It causes your body to have a higher histamine response. And so essentially we want to try to lower the body's histamine load. Otherwise it can result in,
So if your histamine is up because you're allergic to pollen, let's say, the body doesn't discriminate what it's going to react to. It'll react to everything.
Correct. So we
So-
have to go after, I think everybody just goes after allergies specifically, whereas we have to go after anything that could be increasing our body's histamine load.
And what is histamine?
It's our body's response to like an allergy, right? So it's
an amino acid. Is it in our bloodstream? It's in our
bloodstream. Yeah, you could test for it technically. And there are certain enzymes in the body too. Blanking on the actual name, but it's short for DAO, that actually help the body not create too much. So some people are like are lacking that enzyme specifically too. That helps us break it down.
So the three things that we can do to help ourselves counterbalance these allergies are: one.
We'll start with diet.
Okay, what do we do in terms of diet specifically?
So in terms of diet specifically, we want to avoid pro-inflammatory foods, which cause our histamine level to rise. You want to avoid which pro-inflammatory foods. You have to figure out which those are for you, right? For everyone, they're different. Tend to be.
1 second, you just froze on both. What are the pro-inflammatory foods? That's what you were saying. Sorry.
So they range from person to person, but they tend to be some, maybe none of these. Totally depends on the person, and that's what you have to figure it out. That's why it's personalized, but it could be gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, alcohol, right? You got to figure out which of those cause some level of inflammation inside of you. And you can probably think of at least one of them, right? If you eat a ton of sugar, drink a ton of alcohol, whatever it is, right? And so you have to figure out what that is, because that's going to be increasing your histamine response.
I just had a question that popped out of my head and I can't remember. Oh, do we have a test? Can we test people's reactions to different foods?
You can. The gold standard is doing like a short-term elimination diet and then adding them back in, or honestly asking the person, how do you feel after a few drinks? How do you feel after? You can kind of tell. But yes, you can do food sensitivity
testing. If a food was
pro-inflammatory,
what would they feel? How would they know that a couple of drinks are pro-inflammatory?
They would feel more fatigued. They might notice rashes. You might notice digestive issues. You might notice irritability, depression, anxiety the next day. You could notice, those are kind of the main things to look for, but the list goes on.
And what if a person notices nothing? And they're having these allergic reactions?
Then you're having a reaction, right? So you notice something. But hypothetically, if it's happening at a biochemical level, then we usually can use the inflammatory markers in the blood to see if something in the body is causing some level of inflammation.
So that would mean
usually if you eliminate the food and add it back in, you can feel it. Yeah, fatigue is one.
You would have to eliminate it if you suspect something. And for most people, I think alcohol is pro-inflammatory.
Yeah.
And sugar is for sure pro-inflammatory. You should eliminate it, bring it back in. If you feel something, then we test for it.
Right. Other things to consider from the diet perspective is choosing more anti-inflammatory foods and spices: garlic, ginger, turmeric, rosemary, ginger, chamomile, holy basil, things like that. Staying well hydrated reduces your body's histamine response. And avoiding leftovers. The longer something's left over in the fridge, the higher the histamine.
But I love leftovers.
Well, that's okay, right? Maybe there's a ton of tips we're going to go through, so maybe that's one that you keep, but you avoid more of the inflammatory foods for you.
Why are leftovers not great?
Technically, the longer the food is, like, I know this because there's a lot of clients that come in with like histamine responses to foods, and they eat a like more of a low histamine diet, which is challenging in itself. And one of the first things we'll do is get rid of leftovers, because leftovers, especially the longer they're left over, the amount of histamine in the food goes up.
Interesting. Can you give a general time frame?
You got to feel it out. Some people don't do well with 1 day. Some people notice it after 2 days. Totally depends on the person.
Wow. I've never heard that before. That's very interesting. That's very interesting.
Well, it's very interesting, right? Because you hear people go like, but I ate this for dinner, and then the next day I had it for lunch, and it made me feel sick after lunch, but after dinner I was fine. And then you like start connecting the dots.
Interesting.
Shall we move on to supplements?
So, yeah, let's move on to some. I was just thinking about some personal things about the leftovers. You know, it's just interesting that older people, this is a gross generalization, but older people don't like to throw out food. So it lingers a little bit longer in their refrigerators, and are they having reactions to it?
But the whole idea, right, is lowering your histamine load, and like wine is higher in histamine, especially red wine. So with like aged cheese, right, or cured meats. And so maybe for you're someone who eats leftovers, but then you're not having a glass of red wine with it, right? It's all about lowering the total load.
Got it. So red wine specifically produces a big histamine reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much as white wine?
Not as much as white wine. You can even buy like low histamine wines.
Interesting. Fascinoma. Okay, let's go on to supplementation.
Okay, this is my favorite. Shocker. There's a lot of wonderful herbs out there that can be used. So stinging nettles, butterbur, and I can go into kind of any of these, but I'm just giving broad generalization. N-acetylcysteine, which is an amino acid, bromelain, which is found in pineapple, vitamin C, quercetin, which is a flavonoid found in like apples and raspberries and onions and cherries and stuff like that. All of those are very, very helpful for reducing our body's histamine response. I've transitioned a lot of people off of like Zyrtec and Claritin onto these blends, and the specific,
So there's a question, and you just answered. I don't even know if you saw the question. Is there anything that you can eat to help relieve allergies? So you just said things like apples, cherries.
Yes, I mean, technically you want to
Thank you, by the way, Samantha, for the question.
Yes. So technically there are certain foods that are like surrounded more by pollen in the air. So you want to wash your fruit really well. I can't tell you which exactly those are at this moment, but in terms of like combating it, yes, like apples, raspberries, onions, cherries, citrus fruits, green leafy vegetables, they all have quercetin, which in itself helps diminish the release of histamine. But most people struggling,
take quercetin supplementation.
Right, because most people suffering with allergies are not like eating this in vast amounts and getting enough quercetin to get like a therapeutic amount of the nettles, the butterbur, the bromelain, vitamin C. I recommend eating these foods that are rich in these components, but at the same time, oftentimes you need something a little bit stronger, like this time of year.
And drinking a lot of water.
Yes.
Is a great thing to do to relieve allergies.
Yeah.
So if more than usual?
At least half your body weight in ounces of water. You don't have to go crazy here.
Sort of the usual formula.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Thank you for that question.
And you might be wondering where you can, my favorite supplement that combines all of these in it is, it's by Orthomolecular called D-Hist. It's like nature's Zyrtec.
D-Hist, made by?
Orthomolecular.
So that's not available on Amazon or I don't think, right? They don't sell You can only
You
get
could
it.
probably find it somewhere online, but it's always marked up. So if you want to order it, message either of us. Yes, Orthomolecular is a great company. You can message either of us and we'll get you access to it.
And also, Samantha is asking once again, what's wrong with the leftovers? Oh, there it is.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm not seeing any of this. So what's wrong with leftovers is the longer the food sits left over, the more histamine the food actually releases. Nothing's wrong with leftovers. Leftovers are great. Just if you're somebody who's really responsive to histamine, you might not want to let the chicken sit in the fridge for like 4 days.
Amazing. Okay, supplementation, anything else? So D-HIST, the letter D dash HIST is great. You can certainly get it through Complete Wellness and possibly find it in other places.
Yeah, if you look it up, you should find it.
I'm pretty sure Orthomolecular, which is an excellent company, doesn't sell standard retail, just through doctors' offices such as us. Great questions and comments, Samantha. Thank you. Okay, so diet, which includes foods, hydration, supplementation. What's the next thing a person can do to reduce allergies?
So lastly is lifestyle tips. And to answer the question I just see on Instagram, can you freeze it until you use it? Yes, freezing should not increase the histamine response. So you should be fine there. So lifestyle tips is the last area. There's a lot that you can do here. One is not wearing shoes in the house. There's a lot of pollen on the ground. You're bringing in a lot of pesticides that you're walking through the ground. So taking off your shoes when you walk into the house. You might want to wash your clothes a little bit more frequently if you're wearing, a shirt out in the spring weather. You might be like, I can get one more wear out of it. You might not want to if you're really sensitive, because there could be, you're picking up these allergens outside. You will want to use an air filter to help actually filter the air. If you have questions on which one, I have a few that I recommend. Showering before bed is a big one to actually get the pollen off of you, off of your hair, and not bringing that into your bed and making your allergies worse overnight. And then
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you know what you're allergic to?
You could get tested, right? You could do like the prick testing and find out. But at the end of the day, you could be responding to histamine from, something outside that's increasing your histamine response, or it could be something in the food. And that's why overall, you just want to bring down your total load.
So really, everybody should do these things that they can do will help their overall health and wellness.
Yes, unless you have no allergies at all.
And what's your opinion about how climate change is contributing to increased allergies? Your opinion.
Yeah. No, that was one of the things I was thinking too, as I'm saying, like COVID. I think climate change is 100% playing a role, because even before COVID was a thing, people were suffering more and more from allergies. So no question.
No question. Yeah, we just see it.
They're starting earlier and lasting longer.
And are worse, and more people are getting them than ever before. And certainly this year with the masks, it's at a whole new level. It's actually been pretty interesting to watch.
How many people are noticing?
Yeah, the numbers of people, the severity, how long it's lasting. So many people are complaining about it. So that's that time of year. That time of year. So you could be allergic to one thing, and it increases your reaction to many things. You could drink some red wine, have a histamine response to that, and then if you're only slightly allergic to pollen or dust mites or ragweed, then you might go off the charts. And
Exactly.
histamine is the bad guy in all of this.
You want a little, it gives you, it gives you a little nudge on the shoulder, but it's when it gets too much that it's uncomfortable.
Well, probably evolutionarily, you would get that little tap on the shoulder and maybe make some changes, but now there are so many other things. That was before red wine, that was before cheese, that was before lots of things. Any special advice for children with seasonal allergies?
I'm pretty sure. So
Thank you, Dan Darman. Hope you're doing well.
all of this is applicable to children as well. I'm almost positive they make a dehist for children through orthomolecular too. So if you're contemplating giving your kids allergy medicine, that's something you could consider instead. Another thing is using like stinging nettles tea for kids, making it hot, cooling it off, giving them some of those quercetin rich foods that I was talking about, or giving them even some vitamin C.
What is that nettle thing you said?
Stinging nettles. It's a plant.
Stinging nettles.
Yeah, it's a plant that like balances our immune response in the airways, the nasal passages. And a lot of people will drink it in like a tea. You can get stinging nettles tea very easily.
Probably at Whole Foods or any good health food store. And it's not terribly disgusting in taste.
Oh,
if you add, what can you add to it to make it a little bit more palatable to kids, to make it as iced tea?
You can add a little honey, which by the way, I can't believe I forgot to mention this one. From a food perspective, you should buy local honey because that actually helps build up like your allergy response to your local allergens. If you get like your local honey from your local's farmer's market, it's like there's actually research that shows it's almost as effective as allergy shots because you're getting like a micro dose of like the allergies in your area.
So local honey. So local means 86th Street. What is local mean?
It's like if it's like grown right. If you're in New York City, it's grown in like a local farm nearby somewhere. Even upstate is okay. You're not.
So New York State is okay if you're in New York. If you're not in New York, your local area is good enough.
Yep.
And would you take honey? Would you eat honey?
I mean, I totally would. I would add it to something though. So at least you're getting like, you're enjoying your tea more because you're adding honey, you're adding it to something that you would usually add regular sugar to or stevia to. You could add a little bit of honey.
Got it. Are there any other questions? These are really good questions. Is there anything you want to add to this conversation, Diana?
No, I think we covered it all. But if you have questions, we want to hear them. So reach out.
I think that we should continue this in our next conversation around allergies in general, the different kinds of allergies and the different things that you can do. It's so pertinent right now. This whole wave of allergies has been going on for it seems like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I mean, it's not even May 15th.
I know, it's just beginning.
Right, exactly. So I would like to continue a conversation next time around allergies and hear what people are thinking. And maybe perhaps between now and the next one, people can try some of these recommendations and they can report back how they've worked for them.
We would love to hear it.
We would love to hear it. If there's anything that you need from us, if there's anything that we can do for you, please feel free to reach out to us. I don't know the best way to reach out, so I'm going to give you my cell phone, which is 646-284. There it is. 646-284-5220. 646-284-5220. If you want to get a hold of DHIST, if you have questions, if you have comments, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Diana. Great to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
And everybody have a great night, and thanks for